Imagine a weapon so terrifying that the Pope himself declared anyone who used it would be damned to hell for eternity. Or a secret formula so deadly that its creators took the recipe to their graves. And we still don't know how to make it today. Throughout history, humanity has created weapons so devastating, so cruel, that entire nations and even religious leaders said enough is enough and banned them outright. These aren't modern superweapons we're talking about. These are ancient tools of war that were considered too barbaric, even for their own brutal times. From the devastating crossbow that could pierce any armor to the legendary Greek fire that burned on water, these weapons were truly the stuff of nightmares. Today, we're diving into the dark history of weapons that crossed the line, even in the ancient world. Did you know the Pope once tried to ban a weapon by threatening eternal damnation? In 1096, Pope Urban II issued a ban on the crossbow. Why? Because this simple weapon threatened to overturn the entire social order. For centuries, the battlefield was dominated by heavily armored knights. These nobles were the tanks of the medieval world, their power backed by a lifetime of training and expensive gear. Then came the crossbow. A peasant could learn to use it in a week and fire a bolt that could pierce a knight's armor from a football field away. Suddenly, a common soldier could take down a nobleman who had trained his whole life. The church saw this as a violation of God's order. They even reaffirmed the ban in 1139. But here is the catch. It only applied to fighting other Christians against everyone else. It was fair game. Ultimately, the crossbow was just too effective to ignore, and soon, even the Pope's own armies were using them. It just goes to show, you can't stop progress. Thanks for watching. Imagine a weapon so terrifying that its recipe was a state secret punishable by death, and so devastating that modern science still can't crack its code. This is the story of Greek fire. Picture the scene. It's the 7th century. You're a sailor on the open sea, and suddenly, the water around your ship explodes into flames. This fire is relentless. It clings to wood, sails, and skin. You try to douse it with water, but that only makes it burn hotter and spread faster. Your entire fleet becomes a floating inferno, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. This was the horrifying reality of facing Greek fire, the ultimate weapon of the Byzantine Empire. First appearing around 672 AD, this incendiary liquid was a marvel of ancient engineering. Byzantine warships were fitted with siphons that sprayed the sticky, burning substance onto enemy vessels. It could also be launched in clay grenades or through tubes, essentially acting like an ancient flame. But its most terrifying feature was its ability to burn on water. If you jumped overboard to escape the flames on your ship, the fire would simply follow you, turning the very sea into a death trap. It was the napalm of the ancient world, a weapon that inspired pure, unadulterated fear. The recipe for Greek fire was one of the most closely guarded secrets in history. Only the Byzantine emperor and a very small circle of trusted chemists and engineers knew the formula. It was produced in secret, underground workshops, and anyone who dared to speak of its composition would face a swift execution. This absolute secrecy allowed the Byzantine Empire to maintain a monopoly on this superweapon for nearly 400 years. Its effectiveness was legendary. Greek fire single-handedly saved the capital city of Constantinople from massive Arab sieges on at least 2 occasions. Enemy fleets, no matter how large, would often turn and flee at the mere sight of the Byzantine ships armed with their fiery siphon. The psychological impact was just as powerful as the physical destruction. Eventually, the use of Greek fire began to decline. It wasn't because it stopped working. It was because the weapon was considered too brutal, too inhumane. Even for the harsh standards of ancient warfare, nations started to collectively agree that some lines just shouldn't be crossed. And what about the secret recipe? It was lost to time. When the Byzantine Empire finally fell, the knowledge of how to create Greek fire vanished with it. For centuries, historians and scientists have tried to replicate it. Theories suggest it was a complex cocktail of petroleum, sulfur, quicklime, and possibly pine resin or naphtha. But to this day, no one has managed to recreate the exact formula that could burn on water with such ferocity. Greek fire remains a chilling testament to a lost technology. A weapon fire was terrifying, but another weapon was feared for the invisible, agonizing death it caused. Poison. Humans have been dipping their arrows in venom since at least 300 BC, but we've been condemning it for just as long. In ancient Greece and Rome, poison was seen as dishonorable, a weapon for cowards and assassins, not soldiers. This idea carried on through medieval chivalry, but the first official international ban didn't happen until 1675. The Strasbourg Agreement between France and the Holy Roman Empire specifically prohibited poisoned bullets. Think about that. Two nations at war, agreeing that some ways of killing are just too inhumane. And guess who designed these bullets? Leonardo da Vinci. Yep, the guy who painted the Mona Lisa also invented weapons for a slow, painful death. The ban was a step forward for humanity. Poison causes convulsions, internal bleeding, and unimaginable suffering. It's why the ban was expanded in the 1907 Hague Convention. War is about military goals, not unnecessary cruelty. But poison wasn't just in bullets, which brings us to our next banned weapon. Think biological warfare is a recent invention. Far from it. This terrifying tactic is one of the oldest in history. Picture this. 1343. The Siege of Kaffa. Mongol forces launched plague-infected corpses over the city walls, unleashing a deadly epidemic inside. This event may have even helped spread the Black Death into Europe. But it goes back even further. Ancient armies poisoned enemy wells with diseased animal carcasses. Later, European settlers in North America gave smallpox-infected blankets to Native American tribes, wiping out entire communities. What makes these weapons so horrifying? They don't distinguish between soldiers and civilians. Disease spreads uncontrollably, a silent, invisible killer that can't be aimed. Thankfully, the world recognized this threat. The Geneva Protocol of 1925 and the Biological Weapons Convention of 1972 now ban. Humans have used fire as a weapon since the dawn of warfare. Flaming arrows and hot pitch weren't just about physical damage. They were psychological weapons that played on our deepest fears. But some took this cruelty to a whole new level. Long before napalm, ancient civilizations used sticky, burning substances that would cling to skin and were nearly impossible to extinguish. The terror was unimaginable. Then there was chain shot, a truly horrifying naval weapon. Imagine two heavy cannonballs linked by a chain, fired from a cannon. They would spin through the air like a giant, deadly propeller, designed to shred a ship's rigging and sails. But if this spinning vortex of death hit a person, it would dismember them instantly. European navies loved it because it could disable a ship without sinking it, making it easier to capture. Thankfully, modern laws of war banned weapons designed to cause such unnecessary suffering. Recognizing that's what do all these banned weapons have in common? They crossed an invisible line, not just in their effectiveness, but in the suffering they caused. From the crossbow upsetting the social order, to Greek fire that burned on water, or poison that brought agonizing death, each weapon forced humanity to ask, is there a limit to how we fight? Remarkably, the answer has been yes. Even in warfare, we've decided some things are just too cruel. Now, these bans weren't always perfect, but the principle stuck. Technology has to be balanced with humanity. Today, we're facing the same debates with autonomous weapons and AI drones. The ancient arguments about crossbows echo in modern talks about killer robots. History teaches us that what seems unstoppable today can be banned tomorrow, but only if we draw a line. What do you think? Are there modern